Welcome everyone to Be Elite Pod. I'm Shawn Michael.
And I'm Party Johnnetty. And together we are the PodRockers.
The PodRockers are recording BEP live from our home elite studios to bring you the PodRocker Nation, the very best in AEW wrestling commentary. And this week, not on tape delay, no, this is live. We are bringing you a BEP House Show Wrestling Spotlight. And this house show, we are featuring Nyla Rose.
That's right. Why would we be on tape delay? There's no reason for it.
No, we're alive 100% of the time.
That's because we're party rockers, man.
That's right. We always bring the bubbly. We bring all the power, the passion, because we love this podcast business.
That's right. And we bring the cheap salami. Don't you forget about it.
Oh, yeah. It goes down smoother. Comes out quicker. But we are going to do a spotlight on Nyla Rose, though she is one of the two contestants for the first ever inaugural AEW Women's Championship at the first AEW on TNT. So I want to know, Party Johnnetty, Nyla Rose, what did she do before she broke into the wrestling scene?
Well, I have to say this because it's mentioned pretty much everywhere that she is a First Nations people with Oneida heritage. I hope I said that correctly. Oneida. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Also, you have to make mention, because everyone else does too, that she is the first ever trans wrestler to wrestle on a major wrestling promotion. She's not the first ever trans wrestler, but the first ever to wrestle on a major wrestling promotion. So that's pretty cool as well. As you saw on, I forget what episode it was of our Be Elite pod, I had no clue. And I think AEW had done a great job of not making that the main reason of who she is as a character. That wasn't mentioned at all. I think it was just mentioned in passing. And that made me go, oh, wow, that's cool. That's awesome, actually. And it went from there. But before all that happened, we see that she's from the Washington, D.C. area. She has a background in martial arts, judo and taekwondo. She is also an actress. She starred in a Canadian television series called The Switch as the lead, in which the story was basically about someone coming out as trans and all the effects and whatnot that had happened with it. She watched wrestling as a fan with her grandmother, just like kind of the rest of us. That story is not too atypical from wrestlers being a fan before getting into the profession.
And you said she watched with her grandma?
Yeah, she watched it with her grandma.
That's awesome.
And that's
kind of the story of like a lot of, like, that's what I used to watch with my grandma and grandpa all the time.
Yeah, right. Grandparents. That's the same thing. You know, it's not too far from the truth with a lot of wrestling fans. And she was in college when she enrolled into wrestling school. She also worked behind the scenes on film, part of the film production crew on some stuff as well. So she does have her own IMDb page. I'm not sure how many credits she has to her name on there, but that's what she was doing outside of wrestling.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know there's a lot of articles when AEW was like signing all these people left and right. And I remember seeing an article saying that, AEW signed the first transgender wrestler, and I might have saw an image, I might have saw a name, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, let's see what happens here. And when the match happened and I saw it, and it was like the next day, I was like, oh yeah, Nyla Rose was the transgender wrestler. I'm like, oh, you mean the woman? Her? She was? I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah, right.
So it's cool that they, it's definitely a very historical thing, but she had a really good road too, where she was on camera talking about like what her kind of life was going through, and they kind of talked a lot about her history, and kind of gave her that spotlight to express all the stuff that she's been through to get to this point.
Yeah, right. Really cool to see what's been going on with it, and also there's, with the positive comes the negative as well. As Deadspin just recently did an article about just kind of the bigoted fans and whatnot that comes with the territory. This happens. For the most part, I've always argued that although wrestling has had some really terrible storylines and has not put women really in the best of lights, they are also, the fans themselves are a very welcoming community. It's I don't mean to put this in its own thing, but it's almost like that funny redneck meme where it's just kind of like the politically incorrect redneck with just trying to still like having a good heart but not realizing still that you hear people like make derogatory terms, say things, but in the same sense, these would be the same people that definitely, if they met someone that was gay or whatnot, and they liked wrestling, they wouldn't think anything more about it. They would give this person the shirt off their back. I mean, I've seen and met these people. On the other hand, though, too, you're like, all right, well, just calm it down on some of those terms and words that you use to describe some of the wrestlers here, guys.
Yeah, we haven't been to a show yet, and I haven't heard anything through the crowds and stuff. So I'm hoping that it seems like it's been pretty cordial. Like you haven't heard anything over the the hot mics or anything like that. So
yeah, right. No, there's as far as it goes, very few wrestling fans anyway are that bad. Like a lot of wrestling fans are pretty accepting and would not do stuff like that. I mean, there are questionable chants and whatnot that happen. I know just not too long ago, actually, Cody Rhodes and AEW issued a statement after being in Mexico, and Cody joining in on a chant of a Mexican derogatory term, and he didn't realize that's what it meant. He was told it meant something else. And so he quickly apologized. They apologized for it. And, I mean, it's a lost in translation moment. What might that mean here in the English language? We've never seen it like that until someone mentions, oh no, it means something else. So it really is one of those that kind of just like, oh geez. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, even the wrestlers, are pretty open and nice, and there hasn't been too much of criticisms or controversy amongst that as well. I know that there are some other wrestlers, and I'm not here to bring that up or anything like that, but I will say that there is a meme going around on one particular wrestler when it comes to the gay community. The gay community, you know who I'm talking about if you're a wrestling fan and you're on pretty much like squared circle and whatnot. So there is some of that, but for the most part, like I said, a lot of fans are open and accepting. It's just sad that it goes with anything like YouTube comments, man. You can have 10,000 people say how much they love you, but it's that one troll that says you suck and they hope you die that really gets it to you.
Oh, like I know. So I haven't told you about our YouTube comments, and every one of them that's like me is like, "Oh my God, Shawn Michaels the man. He's the Mario PodRocker." And then they talk about the Luigi PodRocker, and I just delete those. I have to mark those. I'm like, "Hey, listen, Party Johnnetty is the man that carries this show. Shawn Michaels just the one that parties all the time." So I got your back, man. I know how it goes. I know.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I know you didn't want to bring up the YouTube comments because it hurt you, but listen, I got your back, man.
Well, there was that one time that someone said I liked Luigi's Haunted Mansion, and
yeah, that one hurt because nobody liked Luigi's Haunted Mansion. I mean, if you could figure out how that game even worked, I think like you're a Nobel Prize winner.
Yeah. So, Nyla Rose, huh?
Yeah, Nyla Rose. So great story. So what did Nyla Rose do to get into the indie wrestling arena?
Okay, now Nyla trained at and I'm not familiar with the school, so I might be mispronouncing the name itself, KYDA or KYDA Pro Training School in West Virginia. She had wrestled on and off for some small promotions here and there since 2012.
Oh, wow. So she's been around for a minute.
Yeah, right. And she wrestled for UPWA, WDWA, Warriors of Wrestling, Marvelous, Sendai Girls Pro Wrestling. She made some trip over to Japan as well. One of my favorite things, I had to dig a little deep, And I know I mentioned to you, Shawn, off air about this, but her Wikipedia page isn't really filled out. So I really had to do some deep diving into some other interviews and articles to try to pull stuff. One of my favorite things about her career was basically her first gimmick ever. Her first wrestling name was Robot Ninja. And
great name.
I know, right? Seriously. The only reason why that was her name was because a promoter bought a bunch of Robot Ninja toys that he had to sell to the kids. And he knew that she was in martial arts and she dances and she does the robots. And so he was like, boom, Robot Ninja.
Oh, shit. Does she do the robot?
Apparently.
I'm visualizing that right now, and I need to see that. I need to see after she wins the title, she celebrates by doing the ninja dance. The robot dance.
Yeah, man, I'd be doing it too. Like, I'm doing it right now.
That's badass. That's better than Luigi's Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, man, Robot Ninja. Well, while she was anyway working on film crew, she saw a flyer for a wrestling show in West Virginia, and then she asked the promoter if she could be on it. And she also warned him. She's like, hey, I don't want to cause any controversy for you as well, but I'm trans. And he was like, so? He's like, can you wrestle? And she's like, yeah. And the rest was history. And that promotion was Covey Pro. And she wrestled there as a regular along with some other East Coast promotions, which I had previously mentioned. I also think it's pretty cool that she got to go over to Japan and wrestle and train, keep training anyway, at the Marvelous Dojo in Japan. So that all happened. All the meanwhile, she's wrestling. She's doing the film thing too. She ends up getting a DM from Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega actually reached out to her on Twitter through DM. She didn't believe it was him at first until she saw the check mark, and he was saying, hey, I saw some of your stuff. I really like you. Would you like to be a part of this new promotion? And so the rest is history.
That's like the dream, right? Like you get that little DM from somebody and you're like, wait, no, this is Kiney Omega.
Yeah,
Omega,
right. Yeah.
Omega. You're like, oh, damn it, got me again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If I had a nickel every time.
Oh, all the time, man. All the time.
So she gets that DM. She's joining AEW. Kind of the rest is a little bit of history there. So we've seen some of her matches and stuff, but what's Nyla Rose's kind of bio? Like, what are some of her signature moves, chants? What's some of the things she's known for?
So she has 3 different types of nicknames throughout her career. She's the Native Beast because of her Native American heritage. She was known as the American Kaiju because of her stint in Japan being really big and awesome and powerful. People reminded her of the Kaiju monsters, so she was called that. She's also known as the Barbie Killer, which is pretty badass in itself, too.
I love that nickname. That's a good one.
Yeah, right? She's known for the Camel Clutch. We've seen that. The Guillotine Choke and the STF as well.
I know. So she's been doing this for 7 years. I know the match she had with Riho. I can't remember if it was Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. There's a few like kind of a little bit sloppier moves, but I don't know if she's because she hasn't really wrestled with them much. But have you seen any of her kind of other things outside of AEW so far? Or has AEW been kind of like, did you know of Nyla Rose before AEW?
No, I absolutely did not. A lot of these women I had not known outside of AEW until AEW. Besides the librarian Leva Bates, I did know about her. A few others, obviously, that we had mentioned before, too, like Awesome Kong, Aja Kong. But, like, when Nyla Rose was signed, I had no clue who she was. I just figured she was big on the indies and went from there. I really hadn't seen anything that she was in that she would do. I know on the one hand, unless you are specifically looking, it can be kind of hard to find stuff. So at that time, after, she signed, you want to find out who she is. Yeah, you could see some of her matches on YouTube, but Yeah, for the most part, I did not see any of her matches prior to that, prior to the announcement that she got signed, and she came out, and I think she stared down Britt Baker.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it too. Like you see her come down. The native beast is really what they coined her here in AEW.
Yeah.
Her loincloth or whatever you call it she wears has like that big bloody looking handprint.
Yeah.
Which is so intimidating. She comes out with a mask.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that she's really kind of using her, her native heritage in AEW, because I love expressing kind of like where you come from and being able to share that kind of stuff. Because one, it exposes people to that, like the tribe she's from, I don't know about, but I will research it and get an understanding of it, because those cultures and those groups always have really cool like history that, you don't know until you kind of start digging into it. So it's kind of just exposing a lot of people these cool histories.
Yeah, right. That's the thing too, is once again to open up people to the eyes of the First Nations people, and seeing just some of the history that comes out of it. Obviously, people, when they think of Native Americans, you think of Cherokee, Choctaw, Apache, and whatnot. But there's other branches, other tribes, other heritage out there that just are different in themselves. And one thing too that goes with the dying languages and whatnot, but trying to keep up the history of a culture as well. And I definitely agree with you. No matter what it is, to show pride for your bloodline, your history, the family history, the heritage that comes from it, the struggles and the triumphs, and in some cases not the triumphs, but to show that to make notice of that too, to just, as something as weird as small as that, to see that you could help educate people about it, to be like, hey, you know what, this happened and it was atrocity, and as a nation we should never let something like that happen again. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's pretty cool. That's one thing that it is nice to just, embrace your heritage and whatnot. And you can definitely be proud about being an American, or some cases being a Canadian, depending on, or Mexican, wherever in North America. But also to enjoy, your past too, or your family history. And, it's a cool thing to go by, especially fighting also the wrestling stereotypes too. Let's not just wash over that as well. There's also, you got Fritz von Erich, who played, this German Nazi back in the day.
Yeah.
And then his sons end up being the famous von Erichs and whatnot. But you do have that too. And, WWF was no innocent to it. Basically always having the minority champions and whatnot, Bruno Sammartino, Italians. And so, you definitely, Ivan Putski, the Polish, definitely having a lot of different cultures too, to come around. And so to represent those people. And then it really got really crazy with some of the stereotypes, like the Native Americans, and so some of it was great, some of it was a little over the top, and that also should be mentioned, and it should be looked at, and we should learn from that, so that stuff like that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I don't know if you've watched the Netflix series Glow. I watched the first season.
Oh yeah, yep.
It's definitely kind of like Mark Maron playing the 80s, promoter. It's like taking the stereotypes, turning them up to like 20. It's like, oh man, like that just.
Oh, there you have it, man. Yeah, right. Awesome Kong plays the welfare queen.
Yeah. You kind of take like, you're sitting here in 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. You're like, oh man, like. Did they really think that was a good idea? And they're like, they did.
They did, because as Eric Bischoff always says, controversy creates cash, man.
That's right. Yeah. I'm kind of curious. I know, I don't know if that stuff, I feel like they walk a little bit finer line, like the Cody thing, like him chanting that, like that might've been like a thing they hitched their ride to a little bit.
Yeah.
early, like, in the 80s, but now it's definitely kind of like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to do that, which is a lot better because, I mean, it just shows that you're sensitive to, like, oh, that was inappropriate. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know. I'm kind of a dummy for that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. I know I just went through the beginning of this episode talking about the minority, but, I mean, there is a match out there during, I believe it was WCW, when Owen Hart is wrestling up against someone else, and there's a chant going on in the crowd that I will not encourage you to go see or repeat what it is, but I will say that it was definitely not pro LGBT, and it's like, holy crap, he got the whole crowd to chant that. So yeah, it gets a little rough, man.
I mean, there's a pretty famous Bret Hart thing where he was talking to Shawn Michaels and he dropped some very inappropriate terminology.
Yeah,
and
right.
Just like,
yeah.
I think even then, I don't remember if I saw that live or not. I'm sure I did, because that would have been about the time I was watching, and it's just like, just even then felt uncomfortable in 96, 95.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, that was getting on the tail end of it too, like where it's you're starting to see more like finally LGBT issues. I shouldn't say finally, but like are being brought back again in the limelight. They're kind of starting to get pushed to the forefront with stuff. MTV coming out with things. You had Pedro on what's the reality TV show for MTV?
Real World.
Real World, yes, thank you. And so openly admitting, he was a housemate with AIDS and whatnot. So, and starting to see that's like, hey, people are people. We should still care about the human race. So yeah, there's definitely those times where you're not proud of those moments, but I am a big believer in too, though you learn from those moments and you push forward because of it. And if anything, history is supposed to teach us what's right and what's wrong. And it's cool though now in 2019 that we're at this point where it seems like things are a lot better in regard to the acceptance of a transgendered wrestler. And I know that that's a big controversy too, just in regular athletics, whereas wrestling kind of gets away with it because of sports entertainment.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step. So, but jumping in. So, like we said, I don't know a ton, but I can definitely read Wikipedia. So let's read some of Nyla Rose's championship and accolades. So Nyla Rose is the CP Women's Champion 3 times, the United Pro Wrestling Alliance Women's Champion once, and the WOW Women's Champion 2 times. So, do you know much about these promotions? I think I've heard of WOW before, but the other two I'm not familiar with.
It just I'm not really that familiar on some of these whether it's just full women wrestling leagues or promotions. Or some of those just smaller promotions. I mean, there's so much out there that it's kind of hard to tell. Like, I didn't know too much about Marvelous as well, the Marvelous Dojo, other than, it was a thing. So, yeah, I'm not really big on any of the title reigns or anything like that.
Oh, it looks like Sonny Kiss is actually from Warriors of Wrestling, too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was just looking over it, and he's the champion of some sort.
Oh, nice.
Let's see what the belt says. I think he's just the world champion. Nice. Yeah, well, so Nyla Rose hasn't been around a bunch, but what's some of the more historical matches that Nyla Rose has been involved in?
Oh man, so yeah, that's another thing too. there isn't a ton out there, right? Outside of AEW that definitely have been rated and ranked. Gosh, she has done, let's just go over her AEW stuff fairly quickly. She obviously did the Casino Battle Royal. She had that 3-way between Riho and Yuka Sakazaki. She also had that 4-way with Dr. Britt Baker and Awesome Kong and Kylie Ray. And she has done Gosh, she's been a part of CZW even. I had no clue about that. She faced Ashley America and Amber Rodriguez in a couple matches. I know when just going on YouTube as well, there's the Nyla Rose versus Riley Shepard match. I know one of the, oh gosh, what was it? There's a Jessica Havoc Nyla Rose match. I know Jessica Havoc has been also kind of a controversial character as well in wrestling. She had actually been released by TNA back in the day because of some tweets that she made. But Jessica Havoc's also a bigger woman too, and so that I wouldn't mind watching that match. It would be a pretty cool match to see. Nyla Rose versus Soraya Knight, Warriors of Wrestling, and she is Paige's mom. In case,
oh, cool,
yeah. So that is one that definitely anytime you could see her in a match, she's pretty cool about that. So her matches are pretty fun. So yeah, definitely check that out. I wish I could say check out more, but like I said, I haven't seen too much outside of it. There's some of these I see and I'm like, oh, well, this one has 52,000 views. Nyla Rose versus Jordan Grace. I know just recently and I know some people might be laughing at this, but I know at the Juggalo Championship Wrestling, the Gathering of the Juggalos this past August, Nyla Rose faced Heidi Katrina, who the British Amazon, who is very talented. She's currently, I would argue that Michigan's kind of like a home away from home. She's obviously from the UK. She did a lot of wrestling in Japan. Heidi Katrina's a good wrestler to look out for too. She's currently wrestling around the Midwest and the Canadian territories. I guess it's weird to say that. But yeah, she had a match with her, and I'm assuming that was pretty good because Heidi Katrina usually has good matches. Could be wrong though, but I would check that out. And if anything, just give even a shout out to Heidi Katrina. So there you have it. Sorry that I can't be a little bit more thorough with that. Didn't have enough time to watch some of the Nyla Rose matches.
Well, she's going to have some big ones coming up. She's got the AEW Women's Championship coming up with Riho, which we're really excited about. And then, if she wins, if she loses, she's going to be either working her way back up to that title match or she's going to be defending that title. Yeah. So exciting stuff to come for sure.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely. It's really going to be cool to see that. And history is going to be made in October.
Well, and as we're tidying up, so we got the Under the Ring news. And because we're not on tape delay, because we're doing this live,
yeah, that's right.
We're going to break the newest story. I mean, this is hot off the press, Party Johnnetty. I don't know if you know this, and you should, because I told you to take care of it like you didn't last time, but you didn't listen. But apparently, Chris Jericho has lost the AEW title for a second time.
Again? He lost it again?
Yeah. Guess where he lost it this time?
Where at?
It was a Longhorn Steakhouse again.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And I mean, this is just happening, folks. Not tape delay whatsoever. I mean, we're breaking the news to you. You heard it here first, and probably the only place. But
no, yeah. We walked in. I say we because, of course, we were there. We're the entourage. We're it's Y2 Rockers, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Rockers is Jericho.
Yep.
Y2 Party.
Yep.
We show up. I'm like, hey, Party Johnnetty, make sure that title isn't on top of the limo this time. You left. You came back in with a bloomin' onion. I don't know if you misunderstood me or what it was, but you came in with that bloomin' onion, and you're like, man, look at this bloomin' onion. I'm like, that looks delicious. I got us 2 margaritas because Longhorn Steakhouse, I don't know if you know, they make some fabulous margaritas. Like, they are delicious.
Hell yeah.
Chris Jericho already had 2. We're doing tequila shots, partying up. And then apparently we wake up this morning a little hungover, getting ready to do this podcast. Title's gone again.
Well, you know how I get with tequila, man. I can't handle it, so it made my clothes fall off.
That's right. That's where the song. That's the inspiration for that song. Back in the day when we were in college, Party Johnnetty's like, "Let's do tequila shots." pants came right down.
Yeah, and this was also back in the day too, so they felt a little bit more uncomfortable singing Tequila Makes His Clothes Fall Off. So
Yeah,
now we can actually come out and admit that. But yeah, I mean, I don't like to admit that I'm the reason for that song, but
But the plus is when your clothes fell off, had full gear on.
Exactly.
You're ready to rock.
Always super kicks, always armed and charged and ready to go, baby.
That's right. But we will be on the lookout to pick up this title. I'm sure it's on the side of the road somewhere between here and Louisiana. I'm not sure. But, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, because again, we're not on tape delay. We're totally not recording this 2 weeks ahead of time because of other things that are taking up our time, right? We're doing this like we always do.
Yep, exactly. Don't question it at all.
But, all right, and as we are tidying up this episode, we would love for the From the Stand section for you to send your letters and feedback. Send us that gimmick. You got that promo you want to cut? You're like, hey, I've got a super kick party. Send it our way to PodRockers@BeElitePod.com. All right, Party Johnnetty, what do we have coming up next?
Well, our next episode, we will be bringing you an AEW wrestler spotlight, this time featuring Riho.
Yes, the other part of the battle for the AEW women's title. I'm so excited to talk about this. Riho, she's been in pretty much all the events for AEW. She's blew my mind, so I'm excited to talk about where she's come from because she's been wrestling for 20 years, and she's 13.
Yeah, she's only 22, I think now, and she's been wrestling since she was 13.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah,
so excited to talk about that. But PodRocker Nation, reach out to BEP by following us on Twitter at BElitePod and Instagram at BElitePodcast. Hey, let's set up that next Longhorn Steakhouse party where we won't lose the title again.
Oh, Bloomin' Onions sounds so good right now.
Oh, dude, yeah. What about all right.
What were we
tequila
just talking
shots? About? Tequila shots on Chris Jericho. He said he gave me. He didn't give me his card. He said hold the title, and then his card was in there because he keeps his wallet in there. So we got his card too. So hey, I'm sure that means party on Jericho.
Yeah, it definitely means that we're like best friends at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So as we got to get going because I think they close here in an hour, so we got to get 6 Bloomin' Onions. So email those questions, comments, those promos to PodRockers@BeElitePod.com. Like us on Facebook by searching for BeElitePod.
Well, like you said, we are desperately out of time because Longhorn's calling our name. That's it for this week's episode of Be Elite Pod. But until next time, I'm Party Johnnetty.
And I'm Shawn Michael saying, ooh, those bloomin' onions taste so bubbly in my belly. So long from our BEP Home Elite Studios.
Remember, get off the street and be elite.
Yeah, I need a reservation for 2 PodRockers coming at you.